Just into the CBS 11 newsroom this morning, new information about the patient's travel, and this is the travel specifically out of Liberia and then into the United States.
The I-Team's Maria Villarreal joins us in studio. Maria, what have you learned?
You know, there's some pretty basic information that we were able to get from the CDC's press conference yesterday. The first is obviously he left on September 19th, which was a Friday, and he arrived in the United States on September 20th. Those are extremely essential, and here's the reason why. There are very few flights leaving Liberia right now. All the major airline carriers have actually pulled out. We're talking about Delta is no longer servicing that area. British Airways is no longer servicing that area. We've been in contact with both of those major airlines. Overnight, we were able to also get in contact with the one airline that is still flying into a major hub out of Monrovia, Liberia. There is an international airport called Roberts International. It is in Monrovia. What we know is that there is a very good chance that he left, obviously, on Friday, which is the 19th, and he flew out on a Brussels airline flight, and it was 12:47. And it was an aircraft 833. The reason why all of those details are important is that the 24-hour turnaround that you saw from him leaving on a Friday and getting to the United States on a Saturday. In order to do that, you have to be able to hop into these flights very quickly. You have to get into some of these major hubs. So the idea that he would have made several connections doesn't really make sense. Now, we have contacted Brussels Airlines. Here's actually what they were able to tell us right now. The airline has not been contacted by the U.S. Center of Disease Control about this, and we don't have more information related to this case, as we are not even aware about the identity of the person. We note that in its official statement, the Center of Disease Control highlights that there is no risk that this person contaminated other passengers, as he only developed symptoms days after he arrived in the United States. Now, Brussels Airlines is permanently monitoring the situation with Ebola and the countries that have been affected by it. They are working with the World Health Organization is also what they tell us. You know, the reason why we want to get a better idea of where he traveled is whether it be social media, emails coming into us, concerns, just in general. I mean, people want to know what flight path he took, just so that they can take their own precautions. Again, this is information the CDC has not confirmed just yet, but the airlines are really starting to dig themselves as well.
Right, and also people want to be able to eliminate and say, okay, I'm not at risk or someone I know isn't at risk, even though the CDC has said to this point, their main concern is people who are in that risk area and those who have had contact with the patient while he's exhibiting symptoms, that being the main concern.
Yes, and we're also working with Customs Enforcement as well. They are the ones that kind of screen a lot of these passengers as they're coming out of these specific countries. They have told us as well that they are monitoring the situation very closely, looking at the passenger manifests as well. Again, zero risk is what the CDC is saying right now, but the idea that you just want to know is what has pushed us to get a better idea of really his options. And for a Friday flight, there were very few.
And it's interesting to note that you brought up all this information, because I think that was one of the first things that many of us thought was, how did he fly from a high-risk country when so many flights were canceled into the U.S. and nobody knew that he had contracted Ebola?
What's really interesting to note is talking with Brussels Airlines specifically, they said they were actually told to please keep their flights because nobody's flying out of there anymore. They did. And if this is a real possibility, if Brussels Airlines is what he took, they're really going to take a closer look at how they're flying out of that area.
Okay, Maria, thanks for that new information.